Our first guest is Michael Towke. He rose to prominence ahead of the 2007 election when he was pre-selected for the safe Liberal-held seat of Cook before a vicious internal Liberal Party smear campaign led to him being disendorsed. Now, freshly brandishing a letter from his party stating that a thorough investigation has cleared him of any wrongdoing, he wants to restore his reputation and draw attention to some of the ways his detractors tried to bring him down. This is his first live television interview. Michael, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks for having me on the show, Peter. Could I just start by just taking issue at a couple of things you said in the introduction? I think it's unfair to criticise the former Prime Minister, John Howard, on his policy issue on asylum seekers. He could not have reversed the coalition policy at the time before 2005. And we were in a very different environment. We had the World Trade Centre bombings, the Madrid bombings, the Bali bombings, and you just can't have people turning up at your border because the Prime Minister's number one, and he always said his number one issue was always protecting Australia's borders without papers, without any identities, and just letting them into your society.
All right, well, let's get on to the internal Liberal Party matters. You were disendorsed for the seat of Cook. Since that time, you've, as I said in the introduction, got a letter saying that you had no wrongdoing. Why did this happen? How could this happen?
Look, mate, I've moved on from that. I moved on immediately after, I withdrew my candidacy and supported the new candidate. I've got a job in the telecommunications industry as an engineer, and But
it can't be as simple as that. I mean, here you are. You would have, if I'm correct, been the first, if you were elected, the first Liberal Party Christian Lebanese person elected to federal parliament. You have a first-class honours degree in engineering. You have a Bachelor of Arts with the prize for sociology. You have a Masters of Business Administration. Yet you were slurred by internal critics. Who are these critics? Surely you want some sort of payback on them.
Well, look, Peter, the first thing I'd say on that is I'm just glad, and my family are more so glad, that this thing is finally over and we can actually have some closure on it. And, to the allegations, they were intended to demonise and obviously defame me.
Does this tell us something about the Liberal Party? I mean, is this a Liberal Party problem?
No, it's not a Liberal Party whatsoever. I mean, every organisation, including my own little church community, has a couple of rogue elements, and it's very unfair to judge and tarnish an entire organisation, especially one as large as the Liberal Party, because of the actions of a few people. These
rogue elements were obviously senior enough to get their word out there through the media, all forms of the media, it has to be said. There's obviously a problem here. Should we be burrowing deeper and trying to find out who they are?
No, I don't think so. I think it's over now. We've all moved on. And the focus now should be on the issues that the Australian people actually care about, and holding the Prime Minister to account. He came to office with great expectations to do a lot of things, and he's backtracking faster than Lance Armstrong. Grocery prices are still going up. He's done nothing on petrol prices, Peter. Asylum seeker issues, now we've got 30 asylum seekers landing on our shores on average a week. When John Howard was Prime Minister, between 2000 and 2005, there were 3 boats arriving in Australia. 3 boats, and each time the then Labor opposition criticised us on each occasion as a policy failure of the Liberal coalition government. They've now, since August 2008, when Kevin Rudd rolled out the welcome mat to the boat smugglers, we've had 45 boats with over 2,000 arrivals in 14 months.
I appreciate you trying to be a good Liberal, you're running the party line.
I am a good Liberal.
But why would you do that? Why be a good Liberal when the Liberal Party's treated you the way that they treated you?
The Liberal Party hasn't treated me the way they, it's very unfair, as I said, to brand the entire party because of the actions of a few. And I think the Liberal Party, is the greatest political party in Australia. It's the party of Sir Robert Menzies. And I think we really need to focus, and we have been. Malcolm Turnbull has landed some big blows, I believe, on Kevin Rudd, particularly on the asylum seeker issue this week. Kevin Rudd obfuscates at the best of times, but every time Malcolm asked him a question on the asylum seeker and his stance on the current situation that's getting worse by the day in Indonesia, Kevin Rudd just obfuscated beyond irrelevance, and it's obviously a sour point for them.
But on that issue, I mean, Malcolm Turnbull struggles to get traction on this issue because he's
because people
so
like you
damaged.
want to focus on internal party politics, and I think the Australian people
why wouldn't we, after the internal party politics treated you the way that it treated you?
I mean, that's a fair comment, but I mean, I think the average Australian has a very low threshold for this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, that's not what they discuss around the kitchen table. They talk about grocery prices, the increase in interest rates that the Reserve Bank has already flagged, and people are worried about keeping their jobs. Kevin Rudd hasn't done a single thing about building any real long-term sustainable job creation in this country.
Oh, you're staying on message for the Liberal Party. I appreciate that. But why? Answer this question for me. Why would you want to stay involved in the Liberal Party going forward after the way it's treated?
Because the Liberal Party is a great organisation, and we need...
Can I ask, what does that involve? What does that involve? Does that involve you challenging Scott Morrison in the seat of Cook before the next election?
Look, the Liberal Party, the Australian people need a strong Liberal Party, and the Liberal Party is strong.
OK, but does that involve you being prepared to challenge Scott Morrison at the next election in Cook?
Look, I've been helping Scott since the day he got pre-selected, and I'm happy to continue doing that. You know, I've never flinched from my duties and obligations as a good, loyal member, and I'm very content in what I'm doing right now.
OK, so you're ruling out challenging Scott Morrison in the seat of Cook?
I'm happy doing what I'm doing right now, Peter, and Scott is the candidate, and also the member actually, and I'll be happily supporting him again when Kevin Rudd finally calls the next election, and hopefully we can get Malcolm Turnbull over the line. Okay,
so you're happy to serve the Liberal Party as it requires?
I'll always, as you know better than anyone, serve the Liberal Party in the best capacity.
It sounds like that's familiar rhetoric, but we're out of time. Mr Towke, thanks very much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me on the show, Peter.
You're watching The Contrarians. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back in a moment.